and the California Department of Education. I would like to extend a special thanks to Madera County Office of Education and their superintendent, Dr. Cecilia Massetti, for providing the Adobe Connect platform that we're using. And also a special shout out to Tulare County Office, Orange County Department of Education, and San Diego County Office of Education for their support of this series. This second part, the first time we met was last week on April the 25th, and we heard from the State Superintendent's Office about this important topic of information and digital literacy. And today, we're hearing from another very unique perspective on the same topic from the State Attorney General's Office. We're very pleased to have with us today Joan McNabb, the Director of Privacy Education and Policy for the Attorney General's Office, and also Sarah Dalton, her partner in Good Things, also from the Privacy Enforcement and Protection Office of the Attorney General's Office. And Joan, welcome. We are so glad to have you here today.
Thanks, Glenn. Happy to be here. Happy to be back in school. Hello, everyone. As you said, I'm Joan McNabb, and Sarah and I are going to tell you how we approach digital citizenship and in the context of privacy in the Attorney General's Office. So we're going to first give you a little insight into what the Attorney General's Privacy Unit is and does, and then an overview of some of the laws in this area of digital citizenship. And then Sarah is going to talk more about how the privacy group of people think about children online and digital citizenship and digital literacy and how we're distinguishing those two. And she will also share she'll debunk a few myths about children online. So last July, Attorney General Kamala Harris created a new unit, the Privacy Enforcement and Protection Unit, with the overall mission of protecting our constitutional right to privacy that we have as citizens of California. And we have three primary tools, the three E's, as I say, for doing this. One is enforcement. We enforce both state and certain federal privacy laws. We also are very much engaged, and this is the part that Sarah and I are very involved in, the second two E's, in empowering consumers, in providing consumers with information and education and strategies for protecting their privacy, for knowing what their rights are, and strategies for protecting their privacy even when the laws are not keeping up with technology and providing perhaps enough rights. And then we also do educational work on the other side, the flip side of the coin. We work on best practices education for businesses and other organizations that have, as we all know, vast troves of our personal information in their control, and we want to help them to understand their legal responsibilities and also best practices for handling that information appropriately. Protecting children online is one of the Attorney General's top priorities, and she has directed us to use our enforcement and educational tools to do our part to helping keep our kids safe, smart, and legal online. One of the tools that's available to us and to others is the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act, a federal law regarding getting parental permission before any online company can collect personal information from children. There are also a set of laws that promote and in fact in some cases require schools to address certain aspects of digital literacy and digital citizenship. There's a federal law. Often these requirements are imposed as a condition for something that we want to get. So there's a federal law that in order to get the discount rates for internet access, schools must educate children about appropriate online behavior, including social networking, web chat room behavior, cyberbullying awareness, and so on. And there's one of the resources that Sarah will tell you about later on our website is iSafe's Internet Safety Education Certification Toolkit that's very helpful. There's a similar state law that makes some of the same requirements, and that's a condition of receiving technology grants. And then are some new provisions that were added to the state education code a couple of years ago to specifically include cyberbullying or bullying activities using electronic means as grounds for suspension or expulsion. So what this whole series is about, I assert, is digital citizenship. It is what is the role that schools play as part of the village that has to work together to build the digital citizenships who will build the future. This is something that the schools can't do alone, like so many things that schools can't do alone, that parents play a big role in, policymakers play a big role in, such as in passing the kinds of laws I mentioned earlier, neighbors, mentors, and of course children themselves play a role in. Technology is changing so fast that we can't keep up with it. I spend a lot of time studying up on it and playing with it in order to understand how it impacts privacy and what are the appropriate treatments of the privacy implications. Teachers as well as children have to keep learning how to use the tools effectively. And in a sense, that's what I think digital literacy means, is how to use the technology tools and how to use them smartly in order to make critical use of them to access information in a thoughtful and appropriate way. Kids need to do this in order to do well in school today. They'll need to do it all through school. They'll need to do it in order to get jobs and to work in their jobs. So that kind of literacy, which is really important. It's an aspect of the bigger issue of literacy. Part of it is thinking critically. There's a lot of, we have access to an unlimited supply of information, sometimes overwhelmingly unlimited. There's very good information. Some of it's not necessarily accurate. It's not necessarily reliable. It hasn't been edited and curated, and so it requires a different kind of critical thinking. Some information that's out there on the wild and woolly World Wide Web can be harmful, and part of the job in teaching children to be digitally literate is to teach them how to be smart and critical in using the tool to access information. So moving to the bigger concept of citizenship, which is really, I think, where the village approach comes in. It's more than just being smart about how to use digital tools, but it's also being ethical about how to use it, how you use it, how we behave, how we and children behave online, how we treat one another. It's a multifaceted skill set beyond just technological know-how, way beyond. So one way to approach the larger digital literacy, digital citizenship landscape is a framework that can be used in thinking about a specific curriculum of AEIOU. I used to be an English teacher, so I think in vowels a lot. And we're not going to go into this in depth in this brief session here, but I just want to give you an overview of what we mean by the AEIOU approach to teaching digital citizenship. So A, for accessing information, how to do it, how to get to it. E, for evaluating it, thinking critically about it. I, for integrating it, not just for doing schoolwork, but into all aspects of your life. And O, for the very exciting area of originating information. UGI isn't UGI, it's user-generated information. So how to do that. And then finally, how to use it ethically, legally, and safely. So now I'm going to turn the headset over to Sarah Dalton, who is the communication specialist in the privacy unit here, and she's going to tell you what kids are doing online.
Thank you, Joan, and we welcome now Sarah. Hello, Sarah. How are you doing today?
How's everybody doing? Thank you. Thank you, Joan, and thank you, Glenn. Let me just move this slide here. So, digital natives, young people, your students, young Californians, smartphones and have moved the issue of kids online outside the watchful eyes of home and school, outside the watchful eyes, basically, of authority. The most recent numbers from Pew show that almost as many kids connect online as adults do. Those are pretty high numbers. It's up 25% since 2011, what they're doing on smartphones. Almost all of them, these numbers grow daily, have a cell phone. We're almost at 100% is essentially what the research is telling us. Now, contrary to popular belief, they are not as reckless as many would perceive. They do care about privacy, and they care quite a bit. In fact, they're better than us at managing their online identities. Researchers say that they're more likely than us to restrict what they share and with whom they share it. They like talking about privacy, and they also like discovering ways to protect it, particularly in their domain, social networks. Now, digital natives, young people, kids, your students, are restricted from gathering in places that we do. They obviously can't go to bars and gather. They can not so much go to restaurants and gather. If they gather too long on a street corner or in a park, that's going to create a problem in pretty short amount of time. So what they've done is they've claimed their own spaces, and those spaces are online. Social networks, online spaces, are where they hang out. 80% of teens, 80% of online teens use social networks. In many ways, these publics are teen publics. Now, they're very, very smart about protecting their privacy. Now, these digital natives are the same age as kids who, since the caveman days, have said, just leave me alone. Get out of my business. I want to be alone. So they take action to protect their privacy. More than 2/3 of them have changed their privacy settings on their profile. And there's an interesting study from a leading privacy researcher who spoke at Berkeley about a year and a half ago that gave examples of other unique things that they're doing to protect their space. Some delete their comments or posts daily, which I think is a good idea, and actually I've started doing it. They also famously encode their messages with a secret vernacular, and anybody who works with kids or has one knows all about that. And it's really the online version of "why can't you leave me alone?" Now, they accept the lay of the land. They accept that there's a price of admission for this space that they have claimed online. A company, a researching outfit called Media Smarts have noted this, and they use the term constant surveillance. They know about this, and they accept it to a certain extent, but it also, this surveillance that they perceive, some rightly and maybe some not so rightly, has caused them to become a little bit sneaky. However, they are waking up. They really are. The most recent Pew study tells us that, and our experiences talking to kids at events throughout Sacramento and all over California, it backs that up. In particular, they have an extremely quickly growing low tolerance for cyberbullying. They are empathetic. They want to help the person who's struggling under this, with this problem. They are starting to do things like ignore, defriend, and block the bad guy. But more tellingly, they're standing up for the victim. They're saying, hey, I get it. Now, at the same time, while their empathy is growing, they're still reticent, and this is the main reason why. They're terrified of making things worse. My notes here say scared, but I'm going to use the word terrified. So the data in our experience says that this is it. This is it. This is the main reason they don't tell parents and they don't tell teachers. They are, disdainful of school anti-bullying programs. They feel that they don't understand. They fear retaliation. So they've got that going on, and they also overestimate how much power they have. Like kids since that caveman day, they are invincible and they are impatient. They know everything. So here they are. They care. They're nervous about telling, and they're kids. They're, impatient, and they act on impulse, etc. They need guidance, and we can give it to them. You can give it to them. Everyone in the village, educators, parents, kids themselves, everyone. The key underlining paradigm that needs to drive all our discourses is the golden rule. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. You know that rule. Online sense is not radically different in nature or scope than offline sense. You don't need to know how to write code or even program your iTunes. I don't. to instill in your students, to instill in your young people, really this basic tenet of online safety. And the golden rule applies today online, possibly even more than ever. So there you are on the ground, and you have this innate knowledge that from which you're working about do unto others and good manners online. The other thing you can do that's more concrete is revisit that cyberbullying policy. We acknowledge that you may be caught in the margins of policy. here they are, they want to talk to you, and then you have a policy saying yay, nay, somewhere in the middle, tell, don't tell, not, you know, I'm not entirely, you know, whatever your policy says. So what can you do while you're navigating that margin, while you're figuring that out and doing, you know, whatever it is that the booklet and the rules tell you to do? One idea is to welcome the air of open discourse into your interactions with your young people. You can talk about their fear of retaliation. You can talk about their concerns. You know, there are many ideas, but a prompt like, what consequences of talking about a cyberbullying incident or something that happened to you online? What are the consequences? What is the fear? What is it that you fear most? So, in addition to those more cerebral suggestions, we also have go-to place for you educators. In our Children Online section, which, you know, if we were going to be speaking in our lingo, it would really be called The Village. But your little corner is called Educators. It's over on the right on our nav bar. Has different sections that we've arranged by issue to make it easy and intuitive for you to go at your leisure and to share with your colleagues, and find what topic it is on which you want to find more information. So, for example, and all of these are drop-down menus. So, for example, you can find lesson plans and more. The page that I slapped up there is curricula and teaching materials. Each of these has a summary of what you'll find there, and we just updated these and, you know, made them in my opinion even more useful. And the websites they take you to are great, and off down the rabbit hole you go of good digital citizenship for educators. It's really a neat resource. Again, there's The Village. If you want to, you know, come out of your little area and go see what we've created for parents, we've got great stuff. Online safety in the real world summarizes a lot of the most common wisdom about what they're thinking, what parents are thinking, and different ways of talking to children that you can use. As Joan said, the Attorney General is very excited about online safety for children, and we thank you very much for your work with them. And there it is, www.oag.ca.gov/privacy.
Well, thank you very much, Sarah. That was fabulous. And that concludes the presentation part of this second in our series. But now we